Today in lesson 3.5, part A, we're going to be dividing decimals. So what do we need to remember when dividing decimals? Remember to put your name and date on the paper. There's a four-step approach we're going to take, but before we do that, let's look at a fraction. A fraction has a numerator, which is also known as the dividend, and the denominator is known as the divisor. When converted to long division, you place the dividend from the numerator into the box there, and the divisor goes on the outside. Now for the 4 steps you want to follow. Step 1, change the divisor to a whole number. If it's a decimal, by moving the decimal to the right, however many places you need to. In step 2, you must also move the decimal point in the dividend by the same amount. We'll show you that in an example. Step 3, begin dividing by placing the decimal point directly above the decimal in the dividend. And finally, make sure you check if it's a positive or negative answer. Same signs positive, different signs negative. Let's do some examples to show the 4 steps in action. In example number 1, 10 and 25/100ths divided by 5. So you set up your long division. The 10 and 25/100ths will be inside where the dividend goes. And the 5 will be your divisor. Now divide. 5 doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 10 twice. Get a remainder of 0. So you need to make sure you put the decimal point up in the quotient. Bring down your 2. 5 doesn't go into 2, so you put a 0 directly above. Bring down the 5. Makes it a 25, and 5 goes into 25 5 times, and there's no remainder, so we are done dividing. The answer is exactly 2 5/100ths. Now, example 2 is going to be very similar to example 1, except we're going to set the division up as a fraction. So we have 10 and 25/100ths, but this time we're going to divide by 5/10ths. So once again, the 10 and 25/100ths goes in where the dividend is, and the divisor is the 5/10ths. Now notice that's a decimal, so we need to change that to a whole number by moving the decimal place one place to the right, Do the same inside in the dividend. Put it up in the quotient and start your division. 5 goes into 10 twice. Bring down the 2. 5 does not go into 2, so you put a 0 above the 2. Bring down the 5. 5 goes into 25 5 times. So again, very similar, but we have a decimal point in between the 20 and the 5. So the answer is 20 5/10ths. In example 3, we're going to have a negative divided by a positive. And we're going to take the numerator, which is negative 3 45/100ths, and place it in the dividend. Forget the negative sign for now. We're going to place the divisor in the denominator where the divisor is supposed to be, and make the divisor a whole number. Move the decimal 2 places in the divisor and the dividend. Move the decimal up and start your division. And as you divide, notice here the remainder is a 1. Bring down the 5. And 3 goes into 15 exactly 5 times. There'll be no remainder. So the answer is exactly 115. But wait, make sure you check the signs. Different signs, negative answer. All right, example 4. We're going to be dividing 2 negatives. Negative 7 6/10ths divided by negative 2/100ths. Set up your long division. And the negative 7 6/10ths will go inside. But we're not going to, again, we're just going to ignore the negative signs for now. Make sure you take the divisor and make it a whole number. Moving the decimal 2 places, and you need to move it in the dividend 2 places. So we need a 0 this time. And now start your division. And as you divide, you have your remainder. Then bring down the 6. 2 goes into 16 exactly 8 times. So there's no remainder. So the very last place value has to be a 0. So the final answer, when you divide 2 negatives as a positive, it would be positive 380. Do your best.